In the private sector, we will say that it's innovate or die. In order to stay competitive and be at the forefront, you have to constantly revisit your business strategy and think about how we're going to take the next steps. I think for the humanitarian sector, it's a challenge. The main challenge is to really look at how can you create more value for less money, because we will constantly have to look for how to get more out of each dollar. There's lots of innovation happening in the humanitarian sector at the ground level. Lots of great ideas, lots of people who have solutions to problems. And the challenge for the humanitarian sector is to have a system in place like the private sector, where you let those ideas come up from the surface and get to the people who can actually further develop those ideas and make them part of how you do business in the future. The ideas are there, you just need to have a system that facilitates this, and that's the difference between the private sector and maybe some of the humanitarian organizations today. Well, there are lots of different reasons for why a private sector would engage with an organization like ICRC. I think the first or most important thing to think about is how do you create a business case for the private sector to engage with ICRC and vice versa, so you can clearly define what are the benefits on both sides. Because if it's the benefits that leads to shared value, there are lots of organizations that would like to benefit from private sector and vice versa. I can think of lots of different reasons why we as an organization at IKEA would work with lots of different organizations in the humanitarian world and the development world. And we know that gives benefits to the people. It gives benefits to all the people who work for us. And if the people feel that we can also contribute some of our insights and some of our knowledge to the humanitarian sector, that in itself is a huge value. But more importantly, taking a social approach to how you do business is very good for business. So it's not about doing good to look good, it's about doing good because that is good for business. So there are a lot of opportunities for the private sector to work with the humanitarian sector, and the private sector has a lot to learn from the humanitarian sector and vice versa. In our company, we just believe that doing good is really good for business. Being a responsible company, looking after the people who work for us in local communities, being responsible about resources, about energy, is just very good for business. It's not something we do because we think it's nice to do. It's something we do to preserve our business in the future. And in that context, the humanitarian sector has a lot to give us and a lot to learn us, and can do a lot of good for us and help us do what we need to do in the communities where we operate. Well, in our case, we're engaging because we believe that looking after the communities in which we work, which will be in 50 countries around the world, it's very important for the long-term success of our business. Success for the people in the local communities is the basis for us being successful and having a long-term strategy with those people. So it's a very easy thing for us to decide on. If we are perceived as a good employer in the local community, if we look after those communities, if we look after the water resources, the other resources, we secure our business for the future. And in order to do that, we often have to reach out to the humanitarian sector.